Hey everyone, I'm back again. I took a break from making these videos, and admittedly, I got a bit used to doing not doing them. To be honest, these are kind of a lot of work. Still kind of on a break from these, to be honest. But well, I thought I'd come back briefly and do one video. And today I'm going to talk about my usual DQT JP version monthly update. This update is for July. And man, do I have news for you. I certainly do. And there are too many, in fact. So I'm going to have to be brief and probably do a follow-up videos to deep dive into each of the topics at some point in the future. So mid-July, DQT JP version has had its third anniversary. So happy birthday, Dragon Quest Tact. As you would expect from a huge milestone of 3 years, Aiming has prepared a massive update for it, and personally, it certainly didn't disappoint the user base. Got to admit that second year of DQT, I found it a kind of struggle, if I may bluntly say. The new content RTA burnt people out, was too time consuming and too one-sided for the whale players. So the experience has been really bad. We lost a lot of good friends and players. So I was really hoping that Aiming will pull something really good for the third anniversary and revive the state of the game. And I think they did a great job about making a new PV content that brings the game slightly back to how it was early on. So a game mode where elements and weaknesses mattered more like Pokemon games, and it was more about catching them all rather than having a max awakening of a handful of units like Hero Solo. The new PB mode is called Sugoroku, or Treasure and Trapdoor, as I understand it from the wiki. I'll briefly touch on these new game mode and hopefully be able to be bothered to do follow-up videos, as there is going to be a lot of things to think about, a lot to prep for. You should know. You're going to need a totally different set of units to what you're really used to today. And as you would expect from Anniversary, also is the new Anniversary meta defining unit, and that is the Monster Tamer protagonist from DQ5. As well as his two children, joining their father in DQT. I won't be able to talk about all of them in detail, but I'll talk about each and let you know which units to look out for. Then thirdly, I'll talk about the new things we saw with this major version update. There are a lot of changes, QOL, that are actually pretty significant. So hopefully I'll be able to cover some of the key ones. Now, disclaimer, this is based on a JP version of DQT as usual, very forward-looking statement, and my early understanding of the update. I may have read wrong, understood it wrong, so check it out with a caution. So Sugoroku, Treasure and the Trapdoor, as it's called in the originals. So this game mode is a new PVE, and it's I'm gonna call it TNT. And for full details, I'm gonna leave the link in the comments below. It's a GameMate website, which is in Japanese, but it's pretty well translated in auto translate by Google. So yeah, please checking that out for details. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help. But I'm gonna pick out what's key things to know from on the Sugoroku mode, and what it's not so obvious on the game side. So first of all, the Sugoroku mode, TNT. TNT mode has a really great rewards, including new equipment type. It's accessory. It's a third equipable slot, and then there's a whole bunch of equipment that's just been released with that. You can also get gems, and it's very rare to get them, but you get a select S rank select ticket, which has up to a Darkonium slime, which hasn't even been released to global, so it includes all the units that's previously released and until quite recent ones. So really, really great rewards. The way the fight works is it's a tile crawler, as referred to by one of my guildies, but it's a little bit like AOB in a sense that you need a lot of units. You need about roughly 40 depending on your RNG. But these units are not like previous to the, oh yeah, I'm just gonna bring all my S's that I'm used to, and I'm gonna explain why. But you're gonna have to upgrade some of the units you never even thought about. Those includes A rank. And then thirdly, when you reach this, it's a kind of like a monopoly style, and you kind of go by a tile by a tile. When you reach the goal, and you have to reach the goal exact number of roll. So like if you can't, like if you got 3 squares to go, you have to roll 3. If you roll 5, then you go back to etc etc. But if you're lucky enough to reach the goal, then you enter the bonus stage, which is where the big things, big rewards are. So this is the ultimately the goal, to reach the bonus stage and get the best rewards out there. Now, without going too much detail, let me just kind of a high level what this mode is, kind of how it's set up. So there are 3 TNT stages, which is kind of associated to storylines. So the Bravos, the Wooden, and Pakuso. I don't know how to pronounce those, so forgive me. But that stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 on the stories. Now, the big difference in these kind of mode is that when you go into a fight, then there's a special stage effect that increases damage of elements, so like brilliant damages by 30%. And this is what makes the Sugoroku so different in what units you have to bring. So what that means is not only you need to bring a Bang, Frizz, Zamata, which are the predominantly useful skills to have in each of these stages, but enemies also do more damage. So the combination of element and weaknesses really matter, which means that some units are really that's been meta might not be useful in the Sugoroku mode, which I think is a really cool thing that Aiming did. It kind of revitalized the units you never kind of use, etc. So I'm gonna hopefully do another video to cover the full kind of comprehensive list of which units could be useful for Sugoroku. But yeah, for today I'll just say these stages has a very specific element preferences, and more importantly, the resistance and weaknesses preference on your units. And then the reward itself, as I said, is really good. But one of the key reward that you are going to be farming for is the accessories. So these accessories are completely busted. So the ring on the right basically increases agility for entire team. So that's like wow, crazy. The one in middle increases resistance for sleep for entire team. Again, so think of yeah, wearing a sleep resistance gear, and this, it might mean that your Vera might not sleep. Has a better chance of resisting even sleep. So a huge deal. All of it. I'm not gonna explain the first one because that's kind of a little bit complicated, but it's also good. You, as you said, because of that special stage effect, you're gonna need to prepare a very specific S and A rank units if you haven't upgraded more. So this is kind of a bad news for new players because you're gonna need even more range of variety of units. It's also a bad news for anybody who's been lazy on Blossom Doors. So Kage, I'm looking at you. So yeah, because trying to hit Brossendorf, as far as you can now. If you've been lazy, you need to really push it because you're gonna need all of those materials. So I'm gonna give you a good one example. So for example, Klaboon. Nobody thought about using Klaboon. Only some veteran players in Starfall that use them in like a GVG defense. That's all I've seen. But Klaboon is absolutely fantastic on the Brava stage, and that's even better than PTMs and Erdrick, and that's because it has a resistance that's more preferable for these stages. So yeah, so you're gonna have to like train a different units for these Sugoroku stages. It doesn't mean you have to have all of them, but it's just gonna be you're gonna have to have a handful enough units to kind of clear these stages comfortably, reliably. That's all I'll say for this video. And I want to show you some screenshots to give you ideas. So on the left, that's Brava's main stage. So you roll dice, and you got certain like number of dice you can roll, and you go further trying to reach the goal. As I said, if you hit the goal exactly, you move to bonus stages, and that's where all the good stuff, but also really strong enemies are there as well. So it's kind of risky stage. But if you hit that roulette, and as you can see on the right, the very nice looking roulette with a full kind of gems, and the highest reward is like 1,000 gems. And you might be thinking, okay, that would never be me, but really, this could be really you. Apparently, it's like a slot machine in a real life. So you can, like, if you got like I don't know, it's like a magical eyes that apparent or techniques, you can hit that 1,000 gem multiple times. And I've seen report in Twitter that people being hitting this like consecutively and things like that. So some crazy stuff, right? So it's a really huge potential, huge content. Just example of a reward that you see on right. So this is one single run, right? So they got 800 gems, new ring that increases team agility, and some other accessories I haven't checked out on. Rest are kind of mediocre, but as you can see, the gems and the new accessory alone are really good reward as well. So some really good content. I think TNNT is a really good content to look forward to. Okay, let's move on to the true DQ5 numbering event, which is what is tied to this anniversary. So first of all, before I do that though, as you would expect from anniversary, there are tons of value banners. I mean, first of all, the 48 banners you see here was absolutely best ever yet. It had like really recent units like Togami and Darkonium. I mean, we haven't seen them yet, right? So I didn't have Anlucia, which was like a little bit newer in JP version. So we are yet to see what we can expect for third Annie ourselves. But in Japan, this was like wow, this 48 hours was amazing. And there's like literally like no like dud pulled on those banners, so that's really good. And they also gave out lots of free pulls, 100 plus 40, running up to the anniversary as well. So a lot of free pulls as you expect, and there are many other value banners as well. Some small side note also, they had a major f up on a campaign, so everybody got 100 tickets, extra 100 tickets and gems for new, brand new units, which is absolutely crazy. But what are those new units I'm going to talk about next? So, True Dragon Quest 5 events came so far with the 3 banners, and there's another one expected tomorrow. I think it's called Gemma, I don't know. But the 3 units that's been released as of today is I'm going to read out for. So, first of all, is the anniversary unit, Monster Master, Legendary Monster Master, the Dad, also known as the Dad. So his early verdict on myself is that 5 out of 5. He's like solo equivalent. So of course it's going to be good, right? He's good all around. He's actually a breath unit, so he's a change to the physical kind of meta. He had this is one I think is arguably the best skill of his, is that 20% AoE auto mitigation. So when it's his turn, he kind of buffs the units in range and gives them all of the units in range a 20% AoE auto damage reduction, which is crazy. He also has a very interesting summon monster feature. So, like in a 5 versus 5 team, he can now bring in one more unit of his choice, and that's as real versatility. But that makes it really versatile. He's a Sizz, Whoosh, and Typeless Breath attacker, but one of the key, most notable one I'd like to highlight is that Typeless is like a Medroa. It ignores the last stands, it ignores damage reduction. So this is really crazy. Um, I think this is so crazy, and it's because it's a breath unit, unlike the physical. It changes the balance of meta completely. So things like evasion units are not going to be as as strong in the new meta, so it's just so easy to kill with the breath monster master, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's gonna just hold, kind of shake the kind of meta completely. If I had to pick one thing that's less impressive about the Monster Master, is a really small thing, to be honest. I would say he's a kind of less he has a less wow factor than the solo did in PvE. He makes, he even makes the, breath units viable in the PvE, because he's so strong. And with Togami, it's a really changes. But yeah, I don't think it had the, kind of the impact. The solo was just crazy, so it's understandable, but I don't think it's as crazily good as a solo in PvE. But still, in PvP, amazing, and most other content as well. I don't know what his official name was, so I kept Rex, the kind of more Japanese equivalent name, but basically Son, the protagonist's son, and I rated him 4.5 out of 5. I think, in a short, he is kind of, and this is kind of really like oversimplified statement, but he's like upgraded solo, but for like a very short period of time, but has a shorter burst. So he's only viable in 1 to 3, but within those turns, he's kind of a stronger solo, in my opinion. Um, he starts with 2 steps of Omni buff, so he's a kind of really good buff unit. Has a long range of AoE dive, a little bit like FAC Corvus. Also has a nullified damage once barrier. He has a lot of tension up mechanics, which also comes with status immunity. So crazy, and also has a physical resistance down that I did. So really full pack kit. But I think next one is the what makes him so good is that on turn 2 he can use a coup that has the 12 squares Zenithian sword effect of an attack, and provide, given that he's a fast unit as well, if he survives turn 2, he just basically nullifies all buffs in range, which is completely crazy. Um, what if I have to kind of pick a downside, though, is that he does have a nullified damage once, but no damage reduction after that. So after one hit, he's probably quite easy to kill. No evasion as well. Also, he cannot retain his buffs after turn 4. So he's like, as I said, a short burst, short, like a solo on steroid, but has a dies off quite, after a few turns. So yeah, he's kind of a very short period, kind of quick unit, as to say. Tabitha is the daughter, so my verdict on her is like 4 to 4.5 out of 5. So she's still really good, but I think, of the three, I think she's least important. But if for people who, I think it depends, because if you care about GVG defense, I would say Tabitha is probably the best. I think one of the key features, although she's a mage, she has a 15% critical rate, which is completely busted. I'm going to tell you later as well. But she also has a coup that's like a longer range Dora Aura, and imagine Dora Aura with a super high critical hit rate, right? That also is a really scary in a GVG defense. But anyway, let's look at one by one his skills. So she has a lot of tension up mechanics. Also has a magic damage increase. So her burst damage is completely insane. He has also a single target and a 5-hit bang with a stun, so really also good. And has a really long range, a little bit like the Free Hyun coup, but it's like a cracked spell damage. And as I said, she has a coup which is available turn 2. It's a long range Dora Aura, So a little bit like Pop's Metro Aura, but yeah, it's unreflectable. So bit crazy. Obviously, no damage reduction. Ignore damage reduction, and it doesn't it still gets stopped by last dance. But yeah, very comprehensive kit. I don't want to find that in the GBG. Downside, again, no DR, and then so too similar to Baran is that she weak to confuse, and zap weakness is a real downside. Yeah, so those are the three new units. All really good. Arguably all 5 out of 5 depending on a contents, but yeah, you're gonna have to save up a lot of money or gems or both. Now, this video is getting way too long, so I'm gonna be very brief on this. But Estark is also getting a Blossom, and he's the best Zam attacker by a country mile. He's an excellent physical all round anyway, and I've seen him already in many PvE, PvP on RTA. So if you got high awakening on him, congratulations. Even if in a low awakening, I would still Blossom him. So highly recommended for a Blossom. Now, finally the third part, the final part of this news is the about the version 4.0 update. Of course, all of this what I've said is part of this update, but there are many other QNL and game updates. So I want to cover some of the key ones as well as list them kind of in a comprehensive way. If you want to check out the details. So let's look at the QNL updates, and I've picked out a few of the important ones. So first and the biggest update, and that everybody will probably be happy to hear about, is that the awakening level are now adjustable in PvE. So it's much easier to copy other strategies if you have like a too high awakening on solo Erdrick. So if you're a whale, this is absolutely great news. And even if non-whales that has too many wakes on the Domegas, rejoice, because this is going to make it easier. Now, to be exact, it's actually not the awakening level you can control. It's actually even better that you can actually switch the passives one by one. So you can make a low stat door, but that does has an awakening 3 or awakening 5 perks. Similarly for solo, I want to keep like awakening 5 perks, but I want to just lower the agility. That would become so trivial now. So really huge. I know our guild members at Akko Inu's been struggling with too high awakening or solo and young Terry. No more of that. So fantastic upgrades. So fantastic update. I could not be more happy about this update. So great job, Amy. And the second thing is that now you can abandon RTA matches on enemy's turn. No, like you could press abandon, but you had to wait your turn. No more of that. So there's absolutely no reason to rage quit. So if you rage quit still after a third Annie, then shame on you. Yeah, you should be banned. Anyway, the third point to check is that there's a new unit added to the gem pool on the banners. So this also changes the regular scout. Also, I won't go into too much detail, but you see the list on here be added. I think the biggest one of this, or biggest two of this, is that the Omega's addition to the gem pool, and also gem slime being added to the pool. I think that's a really great news, and probably we're expecting blossom of these at some point in the very near future. Also, actually, point four is I really like this update as well. So RTA gems now different for Master 1 to Master 5. Also, it's by highest tier reach that counts, not the last master tier that you're in. So let me explain you that a little bit more. So at the moment, if you play RTA to at high level and kind of a competitive level, you know that Master 5 gives you 1,500 gems and Legend give you 3,000. So the gap is massive. So they acknowledge that, and then now you can get kind of in a smaller interval. Every master tier will give you more gems. Now, what's also good about this is that like even if you hit Master 1 and drop back to Master 4, you still get reward for Master 1. So unless you really care for that 900 gems to legend, you could just like go to Master 1, which is relatively easy, and be done with it. This means that actually the RTA becomes less important or less significant to hit legend. I found hitting legend so stressful, as I understand so many others too. So this is a kind of really good update. Basically make it more a PV centric game than it is now. So that's really good. The fifth one is actually a kind of kind of silent update, or like a less prominent update, but it's a huge update. So it's the status now was capped by sorry, that should be 999. So no, actually I got it right. So status cap up to now has been 999, but is the cap has been increased to 9,999, so 4 nines. Now, why is this so important? So think of like Diamond Slimes, think of Vera, think of Solo with a high defense or high attack that exceeds 999 stats when they're buffed. Now they're no cap no more. So actually what this means, actually things like Diamond Slime, Nightclubber, Solo, who has a very high defense and attack, are now kind of upgraded because they get buffs naturally. So yeah, this is a kind of might make a big difference in actual play, and especially with like a tile buff like from Healy, etc. This will be quite significant, but yet to find out the actual impact. As I put, yeah, this is sorry, this is a kind of repeat for part 4. So the RTA gem is now different M1 to M5. Yeah, so this is kind of repeat of what I said before. I was just so happy to see this that I put it twice. Okay, so and there's going to be so many Q&A updates that I'm not going to read all of them out, but I'm just going to pick a few. So I think auto rematch is now capped from 60 100, not a big deal. I don't know, some stages move to reminiscence. So Cave of Vengeance also moved to reminiscence. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And yeah, so yeah, read this list, pause it and read the list. If you have any questions, let me know. There's a few more, and I think big one is there's a guild corp changes, and then what's the big one in here is that no, I think there's no big one here, so just pause and screen grab. Yeah, it's this one I wanted to highlight. So where is it? Oh, sorry, I don't know. I may have missed it in the previous page, but basically the one I want to talk about is like Orochi farming. Is now moved to Reminiscence, so it's a lot easier to farm those if you haven't. So yeah, and go back to screens and then screen grab. If you have if any of them is unclear, reach out to me. I can explain it to you. So, but lots of update, lots of great things, and I'm really happy that aiming really pulled it off, despite many bugs and long maintenance that upset the user base. I think it's going definitely going in the right direction. I'm so happy that it's a less RTA focused content now. Really looking forward to Sugoroku Mode, the TNT. So yeah, I think it's a really good update that we've been hearing. So I'm pretty happy about that. And that is a very long video, but I think it's okay, right? Because this is going to be my only video in a month or so. So hopefully you'll find it useful, and then can go back to the part that you like. As usual, please do like and subscribe. It will encourage even more for me to come back fully. So, but for now, I'll take another little bit more break, and I'll be updating you hopefully in the new after a few weeks. Thanks again.